welcome to First and Filoni. My name's Donovan Filoni, as always, here with Mr. Andrew Cooper himself. First things first, sorry about last week, guys. Unfortunately, had an emergency I had to take care of and couldn't record, but we did get our picks in, and Andrew and I both finished with the same record, or he had one better win than me. We'll talk about records a little bit later, but other than that, man, Andrew, let's go ahead and just get into it. So talk about like what's new so far for week three. We're 3 weeks in, week 0, 1, and 2. Um, and last week was definitely a week of upsets, don't you think? We had some close ones. We had Iowa losing, Notre Dame losing, Michigan got the floor wiped with them. K-State almost lost. Penn State almost lost. Was last weekend the weekend of upsets for this year?
No, I wouldn't necessarily say upsets. I would definitely say in the past 2 to 3 years that we've been doing this, this is probably the most attempts that we've had in week two
Yeah.
or week three. So that was definitely something to see. But then it also goes to show you that to me, there's only one team that's really solidified itself to me that I think
Yeah.
that we probably get into later in the show. But it's right now, dude. It's open season.
Yeah, right now I have like a couple tiers, and I think it's like maybe I have two teams that have kind of solidified everything. To your one, I think we're probably thinking the same team, at least in one of them. And then I have like a team that's like almost there, and then I have the rest of the field. So like, I mean, what teams have stood out so far to you? Like, what is that one team that you're talking about that's far and away better than everybody else?
Right now, man, I want to say Texas,
Yeah, that's one of mine as well. They're
and I'm
surprising me
not.
losing their
I'm
top three
definitely.
running backs and still rolling like they're
Yeah,
rolling.
I'm definitely not hating Georgia at all.
Georgia's the other
But
team that I say is by far and away
yeah,
better than
but
everybody
to
else.
me, I think Texas is a step ahead of them just as far as competition and the
Yeah, I
way that they've
mean,
been able to put together two games. On offense and
yeah.
decent defensive side of the ball.
I You're not going to get an argument from me. The only thing I can say is the way Georgia handled Clemson and then how Clemson handled a pretty good App State team. I'd have to put Georgia with them, but agreed. I think Quinn Ewers is playing lights out. The offensive line for Texas is fierce, man. Like they remind me of the old Alabama teams, the way that they're operating right now.
It kind of remind me of like a Colt McCoy and Vince Young's
Yeah.
kind of team when it was real well rounded. You know what I mean? Back in the day.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I agree. I think the teams that have stood out so far, Texas and Georgia, like I said, I think they're in a tier by themselves. The next tier I have is really maybe two teams, Ohio State and Tennessee.
Yeah.
Tennessee really showed me something against a very, very, very good NC State defense. Um, I think they're not the run and gun team like everybody thinks. Their defense is amazing, and their running game might match up with anybody in the nation at this point. And that's how they beat NC State. I don't think because it was a close game until the pick six, right? And then that defense
Yeah, I
just
mean, I
took over,
just,
man.
yeah, I think that was really the biggest turning point in the game. I don't care what anybody says. I
Yeah. Oh, it
mean,
was.
when you're driving down the field, you're getting ready to either tie this baby up or you're getting
Yep.
ready to score three, and you're down by four going into halftime against a very good Tennessee defense, and you're
Yep.
driving down the field, and then a pick six. It's like they just gave up. They
It's
like the game was over.
that's the biggest thing, man. Tennessee's defense was just that much better. I think
Well, if
NC
you look,
State
man, I
has
mean,
their own problems with their offensive line at this point.
the
I think it's
offensive
been very
line was getting
clear.
pushed around. I mean,
They have the weapons, they have the quarterback, it's the offensive line. But Tennessee's defense, they might have one of the best defensive lines, man. That Pierce kid is no joke. So, and then another thing, and then like the rest of the tiers, like I'm not sure about Oregon, because they have not looked good at all. Penn State almost lost to Bowling Green, and to be honest with you, Bowling Green, if they had a little bit better defense, I mean, they should have won that game. Notre Dame was non-existent on offense. Um, nobody else I really feel like has stepped up yet. Um, and I think everybody can like this is why I think it's going to be a fun year outside of Texas and Georgia dominating everybody is who's next up, man? Because I mean, Boston College, that was a game, man. They destroyed Florida State, but it wasn't. Yes, DJ had a bad game, but it was that offensive line and defensive line. They struggled at the point of attack, and Bill
Yeah,
O'Brien
but
just
dude, it's
destroyed them, man.
yeah. Like I said, I stick by my statement that I've said the last 2 years.
Yeah.
I think you're really starting to see the real DJ.
Yeah, yeah, and that's fair. Maybe that's not it, but I don't know, man. It's just you can tell the teams that want to play together and the teams that don't. Like Nebraska, Colorado, for example. Um, Nebraska might not they have better offense and defensive lines, but I think skill player wise, I think they're about even, maybe a little bit more towards Colorado. But the team that played as a unit dominated that game, and that game should have been 35-42-7 very easily.
Really and truly, though, I mean, I was fine with the Nebraska win. I thought, Prime would have prepared his team a little bit more going into that. I had a
Yeah,
feeling I probably should have picked Nebraska, but the thing that really got to me the most was Shedeur walking off the field before the game.
yeah, yeah.
I'm just that's I'm not a big fan of that, man. You win as a team and you lose as a team.
Right. And what Shedeur said at the end of after the game in the press conference was, maybe didn't hear the whole thing, but he blamed his offensive line. Yeah, they weren't the best unit, but like you can't do that. They're not going to block for you anymore.
Okay, well, if he gets drafted into the NFL to the Cleveland Browns, what's he gonna do? Blame his offensive
His
line?
draft stock's plummeting, dude, because he keeps putting stuff out there like that. Like I think the kid has talent. I think there's no doubt about it that he can throw the ball. He's smart. He can handle anything. But you got to take accountability, man. Like
I don't know. I just that was really upset when I saw that. I would have never
for
thought
sure,
Prime would put up with that.
for sure. Um, okay, and then before we get into like week two, I guess this is part of week two recap. Our records, Andrew's 10-15, I'm 16-9, locks are 12-13. We're right there with each other. Um, before we get into like player of the week and winners and losers, I do want to ask you, since you are the ACC expert, the way Clemson won against App State, is Clemson gonna be okay in the long run, or or did they just flex their muscle on App State because they're a G5 school? Like, do you think they have a shot to beat Miami in the ACC at this point, or
I will say this: a better Cape Klubnik,
he was much better?
much better. But there's one thing, and I actually talked to a big Clemson fan the day at work. Actually, he is the boss of the whole office. He did mention one thing to me, and that was if you look on the sidelines, Dabo did not have a play sheet.
So maybe it is fully Garrett Riley then, because
So I'm
that's why they
kind of,
hired him. I don't understand why they didn't let him do his thing.
so I'm thinking Garrett Riley had full control over the offense, and he was letting it fly,
Interesting.
showing what the offense can do. So I don't know. Like I said, that was actually one of my winners of the week was Dabo Sweeney not having a play card, letting
Yeah,
the offensive
that's
coordinator
fair.
run the show until he can't show that he can't do it. Then let him do his thing.
Right. No, I mean that's completely fair. Well, let's go ahead and get into it then. Let's go ahead with your winners. So your first winner was Dabo not having a play sheet. What other winners you got this week?
I went with Northern Illinois and Texas.
I love Northern Illinois coach. Just before you go on, his press conference after is why I like college football better than the NFL, because he was crying. He left it all out there. He played at Northern Illinois and he's now coaching there. Like that is why I love college football, man.
But the thing that scares me is we got them in like 2 or 3 weeks,
Yeah.
and we are clearly not that good right now.
I mean, they made a Notre Dame defense. They out rushed. Now Notre Dame's offense isn't good. Notre Dame's defense is pretty good, and they made them. I mean, they out yard. They gained more yards than Notre Dame, so that'll be
Crazy.
a good one. And so you said Northern Illinois and what was the last one, Texas?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's fair. And you know what? My winner of the week, I think it deep down inside of me, this it was a glorious moment. I was there watching the game. I didn't have the quad box up. I had the full screen out there, and I watched the beat down of Michigan Wolverines getting their ass handed to them by the Texas Longhorns. So, I know they lost a lot of starters, they lost a head coach, but what was the biggest thing that they lost? Connor Stallions. And when you can't cheat and you don't know what the play calls are going to be, you're going to have 7 yards of rush on you. You're going to have a team have 90% or 36 of their 45 play snaps in the first half on your side of the field. Like they got destroyed.
Speaking
The
of,
scoreboard doesn't show how bad Texas. Sark is a better man than me. Texas could have won that game by 50 very easily. So my winner
yeah,
of this week is college football fans because we don't have to deal with a cheating organization anymore.
did you see that Connor Stallions is now the head coach of a high school and they lost like 66 to nothing in their
Yep.
debut?
He was
Yeah,
defensive coordinator the first week and lost 45-0.
yeah, crazy.
Yeah. It's crazy what happens when, you can't cheat when you don't have the film on them, you know. Losers of the week. I'll go ahead and knock out my losers of the week. First one is because I think the second one you're going to speak on. So the first one I have is Notre Dame. Marcus Freeman, I like him. I think he's a good young coach. I think he has potential, but I don't think he's ready for the spotlight right now. I think this is the fourth like big loss that he's had in his 3 years there, and for Notre Dame, they can't be okay with it. You're supposed to be a team that is, one of the top in the nation, right? And you're losing teams like Northern Illinois, Marshall last year, Stanford last year as well, that wasn't very good. Like Marcus Freeman is my loser of the week. Like I like the guy. I think he's very charismatic, but I'm not sure he hasn't been able to recruit any playmakers, and that's where they're lacking right now.
Yeah, I also had Notre Dame. That was one of them.
Yeah. Well, I'll let you go because my other one is NC State. And the reason
Yeah, that
why I
was
have them is because they haven't
that's
fixed their offensive line, and we've been saying it for 3 years. They have everything else that they need except for an offensive line.
yeah, that was my second one. Um, I really don't even know what to say other than what an embarrassment. But I mean, dude,
It was a
the
close first half.
offensive line compared to last year is a hell of a lot better. But it's just like, man, I just don't know if they're not playing as a team. I don't know.
They can't
That's
run the
like I
ball.
always said. And they can when they want to. That's the bad thing. But it's like I don't know. I can't even really get into it. But I don't know. It's just one of those deals, man. We can never win the big one. And I hate to say that, but Dave Doran has never won a big one. He never will.
Yeah.
He beat Clemson when they were ranked, what, 2 years ago,
Yeah.
3 years ago as an upset. That's like the only big win to me that he truly has.
So
But I mean, it's like we talked about before. Okay, you fire him. Who are you going to get? We ain't got
right.
the money.
So I think everything's there except for the offensive line. Like you have a young receiving core that's
Well, I
really
mean,
good,
Grayson's struggling quite a bit too. He's missing
but
some passes.
if you look at it, he's having to run around
No, I'm
inside the
with you.
pocket.
I'm with you.
So, and that's what I was about to say. I think quarterback has been like below average play, unfortunately. So it's quarterback and offensive line. I mean, I still think they have a shot at the ACC. I'm not sold on Clemson. I think they're better. I think it's Clemson, Miami at the top, and then I think it's every other team, and then I think it's Florida State. So I think it's like, I think they have a shot, but I think they have to figure out their offensive line troubles or it's going to continue.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you. I think that's that and the defense.
Right.
The defense isn't tackling. They're not playing nowhere near like it should. But I mean, it's like I always talk to my uncle about, man. Just because you lose Peyton Wilson, you didn't lose the whole freaking team. Yeah, you
Hey,
lost three or four starters, but you have kids that have been in the program that have gotten valuable reps when one of those guys were hurt. So I mean, I don't know what's going on with the defense either. They're out of sync. They're not flying to the ball like they were.
yeah.
Still missing Devon. I forgot Devin Boykin, I think it is, or Devon Betty. I can't remember off the top of my head. I get both of them confused, but he's still recovering from ACL. So I don't
Yeah.
know.
Well, you had that leader in Peyton Wilson, and he's doing wonders already with the Pittsburgh Steelers, so I'm thankful for that. But you're right. They do seem a little out of sync. It seems like a team that when things go wrong, it just avalanches, right?
But
It
it's the
just
whole
builds
team.
up and builds up and builds up and builds up. And that's a sign of coaching. But you're right. Who is I mean, Summerall is a good coach. I think so. You got your G5 coaches, right? The guy down at USF, he's going to be highly sought after. Summerall at Tulane, he's going to be highly sought after. Yeah, you have a couple, but I mean, are they better than Dorn? I don't know.
Well, that's the thing too, though. I mean, everybody can say they want a new coach, but they're not going to be patient for another 3 years to start winning
Right.
either. And I can't say nothing because I'm the same way. I don't want to wait anymore. I want to win big time games.
Well, I still think there's a shot at 10 wins, but we'll see there. So let's go ahead and knock out player of the week here. So my player of the week, I think there's one clear and obvious choice, and it's not a quarterback, and it's not somebody from a Power Five school, a Power Four school. It's Ashton Genty, freshman running back from Boise State. Through 2 games, he has 9 touchdowns. He's averaging 10 yards a carry with 459 yards, and he almost single-handedly beat Oregon last week. Like this kid might be your Heisman bet if Travis Hunter goes down for an injury. That's not a quarterback. Like this kid, have you seen his highlights? Like this kid is good.
Oh yeah, yeah, I've seen him. He's what he did the other night was pretty freaking impressive.
He's he's a stud. He had 6 touchdowns versus Georgia Southern. I know it's Georgia Southern the first week, but 6 touchdowns as a freshman, and then 3 touchdowns against Oregon. And I mean, Oregon's supposed to be not a bad defense, and he just ran all over like almost 200,
Yeah,
over 200 yards. Like,
yeah, I'm going. I'm actually going to stay in the running back area with my player of the week. I went with Arizona State's running back Cam
yeah,
Scabeto. I think it's the way I'm saying his
yeah,
name.
dude went off.
30 had like 297 all-purpose yards. Had 33 carries for 262 yards against the SEC defense.
Yeah, and then that was a sneaky good game too, because Mississippi State had a comeback there at the end. That was a sneaky good game, for sure. It might be the
So
year
that
of the running
was,
back, man.
yeah, that was definitely my player of the week. If I had to pick a player of the week, though, I have to go Travis Hunter in the end zone.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into our game picks. Maybe a little bit shorter of an episode this week, but we got 10 of them on the horizon. A little bit lighter, I think, of a schedule in week 3, but every time we say a little bit lighter of a schedule, that means somebody's going to pop off and get upset in the top 10, which I'm all here for. First game we have is Arizona at Kansas State. Kansas State almost lost to Tulane last week, but they are favored at home by 7 points against Arizona. Andrew, who you got here?
I think I'm gonna go Arizona. This is the year of the upsets for me. I don't care what my record is.
You know what? That's who I had as well. And I think it's not because of like the year of the upsets. I just don't trust Avery. I don't trust a quarterback who cannot throw the ball. Like last week versus Tulane, he had less than 100 yards passing going into the fourth quarter. Like, and I watched some of that game, which still I still think best logo in college football is the Tulane Green Wave. but like it was just not like that defense was eating them alive. I know Arizona doesn't have a great defense, but Noah Fafita and McMillan, the receiver, are going to torch their defense. So Avery has to be able to throw the ball, and I don't think he can. So I'm going Arizona as well. Next game on the docket is Notre Dame at Purdue. Notre Dame's favored by 10 points. Do they lose back to back?
No, I don't see back to back. I got Notre Dame.
I don't see either. I think they actually win by more than 10 points. I think Marcus Freeman's a little bit tired of what's been said this week. And Riley Leonard needs to earn his keep because he's not played well at all. So I have Notre Dame winning as well with you. Bama at Wisconsin. Bama's favored by 16 points. The game last week versus USF. USF could have had that game. That game was not a 30-point victory. That was a very, very close game, and it came down to, a couple mistakes for a G5 school. That was a fun game to watch as well. They put in their starting right tackle because I guess they were giving him a rest, and that was the end of that. So Bama won there. I think Alabama wins. I'm not sure by 16. I think they need to find another receiver outside of the 17-year-old phenom Ryan Williams that they have. But I think Bama wins this. I don't trust Luke. Wisconsin cannot have an air raid offense. Like they need to be 3 yards in a cloud of dust.
Yeah, I got Bama as well.
Did you watch that USF game?
I watched bits and pieces. I was hunting all day.
Yeah.
So I was kind of listening to a game here, a game there on the radio. There's a lot
Yeah.
going on.
I feel you here. LSU at South Carolina. South Carolina or LSU is favored by 7. But South Carolina, sneaky, really, really good college atmosphere. College game day is going to be there. Josh Pate's going to be there. LSU is favored by 7. I don't believe in Brian Kelly. He can't win the big games either. I'm going with Shane Beamer after a completely different South Carolina team I saw versus Kentucky. So South Carolina here.
I'm getting cocky. I'm going with Cox.
Yep. And that true freshman edge rusher, dude is amazing. Dylan Stewart, oh my goodness. He's gonna be looking great in Georgia Bulldogs colors next year. Next game we have is Boston College at Mizzou. Mizzou's favored by 15 points. I thought Missouri would take a drop off here. But they don't seem to be. Boston College a lot better than a lot of people think, but I think their magic runs out here. I have Mizzou winning, and honestly, I have them winning by 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, I got Mizzou winning, but I think it's going to be closer to what you think. I had them going by 10
Oh,
points.
really? Interesting.
Yeah, I like old what O'Brien's got going on up there. He's finally got the guys up there at Chestnut Hill believing.
Yeah, he's got a couple good, like really good running backs, and that quarterback isn't as bad as people think. Like he's not a complete passer, but he can run the ball quite a bit, and I think he can do okay with his arm. He's not bad. Next game, Tulane at Oklahoma. Oklahoma's favored by 13, but I have zero idea why. Tulane almost beat Kansas State. They probably should have beat Kansas State last week. And then Oklahoma had trouble with Houston. Like, Houston is not a good team. I have Tulane here, and I have Tulane winning by a field goal. You too?
I got Tulane circled. Oh yeah, I had Tulane circled. I can't even lie.
Yeah, I don't think we talked about it in the preview. I don't think Oklahoma is that good this year. I think Jackson Arnold he's still too young, and that defense is not what a Brett Venables defense should be. So
We
next
will
one,
probably we will probably get embarrassed on this one, but
oh,
it sounds right.
1,000%. This just means Oklahoma's gonna win by 40. Um, West Virginia at Pitt. West Virginia backyard brawl is favored by 2 points. Pitt with an amazing comeback against Cincinnati last week. They were down by like 24 points at one point and came back and won by 1. Who you got here? West Virginia or Pitt?
I'm going back to back. Give me West Virginia.
Yeah, I am too. I don't like Eli Holstein. I think he's too young of a quarterback. I think last week, if you barely beat Cincinnati, I think West Virginia's a little bit better than Cincinnati. Garrett Green and boys gonna run wild on them. Georgia at Kentucky. Georgia's favored by 24 points. Um, what happened to Kentucky last week, man? Like they looked like a team that was scared. I think we're
I've
both on
never
Georgia. That's
seen,
why I'm asking you this question.
yeah, I've never seen a Mark Stoops team look like that in the past 3 years.
They looked bad. Like they were favored by 10 points and got their ass whipped. Like that
Yeah,
was just crazy. Next game here is Colorado, Colorado State. If you remember last year, that was an amazing game last year. It was overtime game. Colorado's favored by 7. As much junk as I talked on Dion and the boys last week, I think they put it together this
I,
week, and I think they win. But I do like Colorado State. I love their coach. I love their quarterback. But I think Colorado wins this one. I think they got a bad taste in their mouth from last week. I think they come out firing.
give me Colorado State.
You want Colorado State?
Yeah, it's at Colorado State, 7 o'clock game.
Interesting. That's
Revenge
going
from
to be a really
last year.
fun game to watch. That's going to be the game of the night. And then finally here, Texas A&M going into the swamp. Texas A&M looked has not looked good on offense the first 2 weeks. Florida looked great last week, but they're versing basically a high school team. But DJ Lagway got the start and threw for he was six for at one point in the first half. He was 6 for 6 for 200 yards, 197 yards. Um, Billy Napier said that they're going to be sharing snaps if Mertz can get out of concussion protocol, but it's another week with Lagway practicing with the ones. I think if Lagway plays the whole game, Florida will win to give him an extra dimension with the legs. It's a 3.5 point game. Texas A&M favored. If it's Lagway starting, I have Florida. If not, I don't know. But so I'm gonna go with Florida.
Yeah, I got Texas A&M.
Yep, you're probably gonna win that one. But man, this DJ Lagway kid, man, I don't know if you watched any of his highlights last week. Dude can sling. Okay, just to go over some gambling picks. Last week I went 5-5. I'm about 500 right now, 12 and 13. So we need to get a little bit back on track. So I'm gonna run through these, and you tell me if you disagree with any or you want to talk about one. Boston College versus Missouri. Like I said, I think Missouri's gonna win by 3 touchdowns. So give me Missouri minus 15.5. FSU at or FSU versus Memphis. I think this is where Florida State's offense has to play well because Memphis offense is really good. So I'm going to go with over 52 points in that game. Western Kentucky at Middle Tennessee State. Um, Western Kentucky is favored by 7.5, so give me Middle Tennessee State plus 7.5. Arizona at K State. I think Arizona's gonna win outright, so give me Arizona plus 7. Also, I think this is gonna be a high scoring game. Give me over 60.5 points. Texas A&M at Florida. I think Florida's gonna win, so give me Florida plus 3.5. I don't trust Connor Wegman. Uh, I don't think he's a good quarterback. Bama at Wisconsin. Give me over 50.5 points. I think it's only going to be a 2 touchdown game, but I think there will be a ton of points scored, especially since it's at noon. Tulane at Oklahoma. Give me Tulane plus 13.5. I think Tulane's going to win outright, so give me Tulane with the points. UTSA at Texas. Texas is favored by 35 points. I say, who cares? They win by 42. So give me Texas minus 35 against a very bad UTSA team, uh, or not as good UTSA team, I should say. And then Vandy at Georgia State. Vandy is a surprising team this year. Vandy's favored by 10, so give me Vandy minus 10 at Georgia State. I think Dylan Pavia might go off this game. They seem to have something going at Vandy, and it's kind of good to see. So those are the games that I have. Any issues with any of them?
Nah, I'm not much on the whole betting thing, so I believe I'm gonna have to go with you.
All right, man. And players to watch this week. I got 3 players to watch this week. So how many do you got?
I've got one.
All right. So I'll let you go ahead. Who is your player to watch this week?
Well, Lenore Sellers, quarterback for the University of South Carolina.
Yeah, he's fun, man. He's a fun freshman. I hope he plays well like he did last week. Um, I man, I don't know though. LSU, we'll see. We'll see what happens, right? My
That's why you
players
play
of the
the game.
week. Oh, go ahead.
That's why you play the game.
Exactly. My players of the week. First one's going to be DJ Lagway, like I already said. If it's him starting, great. If it's Mertz and him, if you have two quarterbacks, you have none. I think you just let the freshman play. Billy Napier is going to get fired at the end of this year, anyways. Let the freshman play, get some experience for next year. Um, Another freshman, Dylan Stewart, South Carolina edge. Um, Dude is just he tore Kentucky up. He tore ODU up. He might lead the nation in sacks by the end of the year. Keep an eye on him, edge rusher. And then Garrett Green and the boys. Pitt had an amazing comeback last week. Not sure their defense can hold up against Garrett Green. I think he needs to step up his game. I don't think he's been on point as much as he was last year. So I have Garrett Green. He needs to step it up. So I'm keeping him on my players to watch this week. All
And I
right.
dig
Well,
it.
that's it for this week. I think it'll be a little bit slower of a week this week. Next week, Andrew's out. We'll have a special guest host. Um, but like always, feel free to send us any questions, any comments. Send it to our Instagram, send it to us personally, and we'll be able to answer it. And we hope to see you next week.